welcome back to my channel. I'm Keoki from Umiox Fishing in Osaka City in Japan, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to change the impeller on a Tohatsu outboard motor. So this is the 9.8 carburetor model, but the impeller change is pretty much standard across all models. So I've ordered a service kit which includes spark plugs, anodes, and a new impeller and gaskets. So we'll be using the parts in here to get it sorted. Let's get to it. Okay, so first of all, we need to disconnect the shift rod here. This is actually the hardest part of the whole job if you don't have the Tohatsu spring pin tool. So it's basically held in by two split pins, as you can see here. Now, what I did, I used a 3mm drill bit and tapped away at it. Just take your time and go really slowly. And when it comes out the other side like this, you can just remove it. Put it into forward gear and you'll see it's disconnected here. Okay, next there are 4 bolts holding the lower unit on to the bracket here. There's no room to get a socket in there, so you need to use a spanner. It's a 10mm size. 1, 2, and also 2 on the other side. Okay, and then it just drops down like this. And there's the water pump housing with the impeller in it. Okay, I've just tilted the engine up and then it just slides off like this. And here it is, we're done. The top of the drive shaft is a bit greasy, so I recommend just putting a little bag over it to keep the workplace clean. Okay. Let's get it taken apart and change the gaskets and the impeller. First, we need to remove the pump housing to get to the impeller. So there are 4 10mm bolts holding it in place. So we need to remove those first. Okay, if you get confused later, these are the long ones with washers on them. Okay, one important part here, which is really easy to lose, on the drive shaft here, it's called a key. It's just a little metal rod. Do not lose this. If you lose this, the impeller will not turn when the drive shaft is moving. Let's check out the state of the impeller. Okay, well, as you can see, the fins, this one and this one, they're facing different directions. See, they should all be going round in the same direction, but this one here is folded back on itself. That's probably the reason the water coming from the pilot jet has been a bit weak recently. It's pretty deformed here. Look at the shape. The fins have bent and they've got cracks in them. So this is definitely at the end of its service life. Okay, there you go. That's what a deformed impeller looks like. Okay, have a look inside here. We've got the housing. This looks in not too bad shape. Anyway, the kit doesn't come with a replacement housing, so I'll be using that. As well here, this looks all right inside. There are no deep scratches or anything, but this came in the kit, so I'll be changing this anyway. Under here we have a top gasket, the guide plate, and another gasket underneath. The new guide liner, a new guide plate, 2 gaskets for above and below. There's the impeller. Okay, so here's the new impeller and here's the old one. As you can see, there's quite a difference. Clean up the top of the water pump here, where the gasket sits. Just using an old toothbrush and some parts cleaner. Okay, first we'll put the base gasket on. One side's shiny, one side's rough, and you might wonder what way it goes on first, but here there's a little hole which lines up with this one here, so it only goes on one way. And if you just check all the holes are lined up, once you put it on there, you know it's in the right position. Okay, next we need to put the guide plate back on. Okay, once again, line the holes up. This one goes on this way. All the holes are lined up. Okay, and then we've got the last gasket. Everything looks lined up correctly. We'll use the new housing. I mean, as you can see, there's not really any wear on this one, but it came in the kit anyway, so I might as well use it. And first of all, you need to put a dab of waterproof grease. I've got this one here that I use for my off-road motorcycle. Just run it around the middle here, around the outer edges of the liner, like this. Clean the housing up. Make sure to check for cracks and stuff, and that the seal here is in good condition as well. Okay, once again, I'm going to put a bit of grease just around the seal here. Okay, next we're going to put the liner back in the housing here, and as you can see here, there's a little pin that sticks up here, so it can only go in one way. You just push it in and line up, give it a twist, and it should slot into place like this. All right, next step is to put the new impeller on here. There's a little slot here, and the key fits in there like this, and that's what allows the propeller to turn with the drive shaft. If you forget to put this in, you're not going to get any water getting pumped around. A dab of grease on your fingers and put it on the flat part of the drive shaft there. You should hold the pin in place like so. Okay, can you see it down there? And then as you push it down, it slots in like that. If you turn the drive shaft, you can see the impeller moving. If a pin isn't inserted correctly, it won't move with the drive shaft. All right, next we need to bring the water pump housing and slide it on. Make sure the gaskets are all lined up. You turn this drive shaft clockwise while pulling it down, and it should fall into place. There you go. All right, that's done. Next we need to replace the bolts with the washers. When you're working with gaskets, it's always good to move from corner to corner in a crisscross fashion to make sure everything's seated properly before torquing it down. Okay, they're finger tight. Okay, next I'm going to torque it down properly. The manual says 6 Newton meters. Right, now this is done, let's get the lower unit back into the engine. Okay, it's fairly straightforward. Just line up the shift rod first, and the rest should fall into place. Okay, there you go. Okay, it's slotted in. Just a little bit of thread locker on the ends. Okay, and the last one. Okay, now that that's done, the final step is to put in the split pin. Okay, so we just need to line it up like this, gently. Tap it in. So I like to push it from the bottom to support it. Okay, as you can see, it's completely flush in there now. The shift rod's moving like it's supposed to when you put it into forward and reverse. Now, I'm going to go outside, start the engine up, and make sure that it's the water's circulating and shooting out of a pilot jet. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. I really hope it helped you out. It wasn't that hard, was it? Just follow these steps and it really is an easy job and it will save you a lot of money. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Sayonara.